Okay, hello everyone. Today we are going to start the new chapter, that is forging. So before going to the introduction part, as we see surrounds of us, you see a number of metal objects out there which is having the different shapes or different forms or different sizes. You observe those are the metal objects. I think you have to get one thing, how they are, how the metal objects or change its shape, how we can change the shape of them, and how they, why, because they are very hard. Most of the metals, if you observe, they are the hard materials. So you have to get one thing to think about that, how it can be, the shapes can be changed, so that it has to come into your existence. And here, in that way, we have to know the procedures also, how, what are the different processes followed to change that hard metals into different shapes or different forms or different sizes according to the requirement. Why? Because we are observing number of metal, uh, the objects which are surrounding. As you see example, you take your chairs, some steel iron chairs are there, and lot more objects up to like what you're driving the car also, they're made with some metal objects. How the different forms are getting, how the different shapes are getting, what are the procedures they have followed, different metallurgical processes out there to change their properties. We are utilizing for different material, the different processes has to be followed. In a similar way, here also we are discussing one type of the process where the hard metal objects can be changed, the metallurgical properties can be changed there. uh, and this is if you go through the introduction part of the forging, there you can get some idea regarding that, what is the forging and what is the process performed in that to change that hard metals or hard metals into different shapes or sizes or different forms. Just look at this statement and see here, just what we are doing, what is the forging. And I think most of you have observed at the, normally you can see at the local sites, they are performing these forging operation. That similarly, we are calling it as a blacksmithy, where the metal objects are heated to very red hot condition, that is above the recrystallization temperature. Generally we are using this term, above recrystallization temperature. That means it is below the melting point. We are not melting that metal completely, we are taking that metal up to, that means we are heating that metal up to the uh, that melting point. Then we are changing by applying some pressure over that, or by hammering, or by applying some compressive force over that, we can change the shapes of that particular objects. We can make them into according to our required shape or required sizes. So this forging describes, it is the process by which the metal is heated. As what we have discussed, metal must and should be heated. Why? Because the shapes can be changed according to our requirement by applying some compressive forces on that. If they are heated, applying the little amount of the compressive force, then it can be changes its shape when compared with the some cold forging, cold process, cold working process. If you observe that, where the cold working process, it will be carried at some room temperatures, whereas if you take this forging operation, it can be carried at very high temperatures. That means depends on the metals, uh, the metals melting point. You're reaching up to the melting point, that below the melting point or above the recrystallization of that particular metal. So depending on different metals, different melting points will be there, different recrystallization temperatures will be there. Must and should, it should reach above the recrystallization temperature, the forging, or below the melting point. Now, by the plastic deformation. It means just by applying some compressive forces over that, by hammering, hand hammering or by power hammering, we can change the shape of that particular metal, which is very hard one, right? Next, so usually this compressive force, as what I discussed, that is those are the hammer blows. The blacksmith smithy operation, they are using some smithy hammers will be there, like, so we are applying some blows or some compressive force over that particular object. After heating that into up to the melting point, then we can change the form of a that particular object, right? And as what we have discussed, that it should carried out at red hot condition. And whenever you can observe the condition of that metal, whenever it is reached the red hot condition, it means above the recrystallization temperature. And here you can see we can also get good mechanical properties whenever they are heated above the recrystallization temperature, and again bringing back to the normal room temperature after making changes in its shape. The grain structures will have it will gives out very good results in combination with the mechanical properties also. You will get very the hardness of that material depends on the metals, different types of metals. Hardness of that particular metal, maybe you take the steel, any steel knife like that. If it is forged, some steel material, if it is forged, and then it can get very hardened tip it can be gained. Whereas if you take some you take the swords like that, if it is made with the bronze, they are generally they go for different metal, like different method, like casting process. Again, what is casting? Here in the casting, we are heating the metal above the melting point. So completely the metal is got liquefied, then it can be shaped according to that. When you pour that in the mold, then you can get according to that, the shape will be obtained. So if you take those bronze materials, casted bronze materials, you can get very good height and very good the hardness. So the different metals has to follow the different procedures to get the acquired so the required mechanical properties. Hardness, for example, what we are discussing now. Okay, so steel generally preferring this forging, where to increase the hardness of that, whereas if you take the bronze, they can go for the casting process like that. So if you got the information regarding the basic information regarding what we are doing in the forging process, right? Coming to some of the application parts, like crankshafts, which are used in the automotive field, like in IC engines like that, where you can see the crankshafts, and some other components like in the IC engine, like pistons, connecting rods, okay, and other component like wrenches. So these are the directly made from the forging process, where it can be shaped by applying some compressive forces and heating that metal part above the recrystallization, and applying those compressive forces, we can make a very hardened material, or very big particles can be made to the required form or to the required shape. Similarly, just we go through the advantages here. And coming to the structure part, so uniform structure can be maintained when you follow this forging process, that is after the recrystallization temperature, or applying the compressive force and bringing back to the normal stage. Then if you check the structure of that particular metal object, it is what it can gain the uniformity in the structure of that particular what are the grains are there. So uniformity will be achieved with the help of this forging operation, right? And cavities will also be reduced in this, whatever the inbuilt cavities are there in the metal. So due to heating to above the recrystallization temperature, so these it will be adjusted, the grains are adjusted, and whatever the cavities are there, the minimum cavities will be achieved with the help of this forging operation. Okay, the cavities can be reduced in this. Blowholes, similarly the blowholes also we will discuss. These are the some of the forging defects. We will discuss that the blowholes can also be minimized in this forging, and you can also gain very good mechanical properties like strength, and can gain very high toughness of the metal will also be high. And coming to the finish, you can also get good surface finish if you follow the procedure exactly, and bringing back to its normal temperature, you can observe the smooth surface finish over the uh, that object. And it also have the high strength to weight ratio. So if you consider the ratio between strength to weight, so it is having very higher value with the help of this forging process. Material can also be saved, right? Instead of if no material loss will be there, just like you take some machining process. If like machining the you're doing some experiments in the lathe, where it will be removed with the some single point cutting tool. So it has to be the metal has to be removed in the form of a chipping. Material will be lost it there. So whereas here the same structured or same form which you are obtained in the machining process, the same form can be obtained in the forging also. It can, the shape can be done in the forging process also, where the material is not getting wasted in this process. So material can be saved in the this forging process. Coming to some of the disadvantages, so the size limitation will be there, like a mm, what we can very if you take some very smaller components, so where it cannot be made with this help of this forging process, right? Smaller, any small particles are there, minute particles which we cannot go for, or otherwise if very large particles are there, okay, very heavily particles or heavily metal products has to be made. So this cannot be done with the help of the forging. There should be a there is a certain size limitation is there for this forging process. And wherever there is some complicated design is there, uh, like a simple structured or simple formed metal objects can be made, metal forms it can be made with the help of this forging. Where you can go for some complicated or complexity of design is more, then those type of shapes cannot be obtained with the help of this forging. And if you take the forging equipments will be discussed later. If you observe the forging equipments, uh, compared to other machining processes, these it requires very high equipment, and the tool is required is also very high. So the cost of that particular the setup, forging setup will also get increases. And the metallurgical properties are also get affected by, because some properties will get affected during your heating to above the recrystallization temperature, right? The properties of that metallurgical properties like some grain structure or grain growth or phase formation. So all these properties will get affected in this with the help of while performing this forging operation. And what the next, if you observe, it is not economical for small quantities, right? So if you the production should be the mass production, so number of quantities, the lot should be very high, then only it will be feasible. If you produce small quantities by using that very larger or heavier equipments, so it is not suitable, it is not economical, right? So these are the few of the disadvantages. Coming to applications, as already we have seen, like automobile crankshafts and crane hooks, wrenches. Hope all of you have seen these, how heavy the parts or it will be available. They are forged. You observe the crane hooks. It's a very heavier part made with the metal, some mild steel or something, generally, or some medium carbon steels like that. But uh, the shape, whatever it is obtained, that is done with the help of the forging. just like automobile parts we are seeing, like piston, crankshafts, connecting rods, like that, and wrenches also. So these are the few applications of forging. Next, this is regarding some introduction part of what is forging, and like advantages, disadvantages, and some applications of forging. Next, we move further. uh, First we focus on the tools, basic tools which are used in the forging for performing the forging operations. First we have to know regarding the tools, then further we can move on to the what are the heavier equipments. We'll see it later. In this session we will focus on uh, the tools. So here you see we discuss some the tools, hand tools, where these are very important in the forging process. The first one is the anvil, and the next one is the swage block, and next we will discuss what are the specifications, how they can be identified, and how it look like, what is the purpose of that anvil and swage blocks. And move on to the next topics also. We'll discuss some of the tools will be discussed. And here, so this is the anvil. So just go through the diagrammatic part, how it will be appeared. So it can be seen in the forging shop. This is one of the important tool where you can simply get the idea what type of the shop it may be, like forging. So what is the if there is an anvil in that particular shop, so you can decide that that is a forging shop. Why? Because this anvil what you are looking, so it is used for the supporting the work pieces while hammering. Whenever there is a work pieces, in the sense it is a very hot conditioned work pieces will be there, so that it will be placed over these anvil, and we can, by applying the hammering on that face, we can place that. By applying hammering on that, we can change the shape of that particular object or particular workpiece. Okay. And it may, this anvil is also available in different sizes and different shapes according to the requirement of type of operations or forging operations are carried out. According to that, you see different operations can be done on this anvil. Observe the components placed over here. The On this anvil here, you can see there is one horn structure is there at the one end of that anvil, and there is a stepped section is provided here. Above that, you can see the top layer which you are seeing, that is the face, and the face is also consist of, at one end you can see there will be two holes will present. One is a Pritchell hole, nothing but it's a round hole, is named as Pritchell hole, and the second one is a hard eye hole or hard eye hole, where you can see generally it may be a square form. These two holes are performing or used for its particular purposes only, like whenever if you want to hold the round bars, and here the Pritchell hole can be used for holding the round bars into that hole, and also used for bending purpose. If you want to bend the rods by placing in the pitch hole, you can bend the rods. Similarly, there is a square hole, nothing but it is named as hard eye hole, for holding the square shanks. Okay. And by various tools such as the swages, whatever the shanks are there, so shank portion, in the sense uh, for example, so at the top there will be a different different shape will be there. So to hold that shape, at the bottom there will be shank portion, just like our body. The neck is the main, the head is the main part, and our body which is there, so that acts like shank. So if the shank is made like some square section like that, so that it can be hold in the hard eye hole. So like that, we are having some tools like swages, fullers, and chisels. So those can be inserted into the hard eye hole. We'll see, looking that we'll get some idea. And see, just we go through that. The material or metal the made with for this anvil is mild steel. So generally this part, whatever the face you're seeing, totally the body is made with the mild steel body. And coming to that face section or the top layer which is there, that is a welded portion to that particular anvil, that it is made with a very hard high carbon steel, very hard high carbon steel. Why? Because it has to be withstand whenever it is making contact with the hot workpieces. Hot workpieces are placed on the faces, so it should be withstand for that temperature. So generally it is made with hard high carbon steel. And you see this cutting face is left soft and is used for support purpose. Whatever the step is there, you can see the cutting face whatever is there at the ends. So it is used for just like at the ends it can be, you can hold the workpiece and it can be used for bending purpose. Okay. And why it is made the soft on the face? Why? Because whenever the chisels, when you are striking on that particular, whenever it make contact with the face also, sometime it may strike over the face also. So during that it will avoids the damage. So that is the reason why the shape of the top layer of the face is left soft. That is the thing. It will protect the chisels also. Chisels are placed over that workpiece, and you striking with the help of hammer, the chisels will slip and make contact with the face some other time. So it will not damage the chisels, it will protect them. Okay. So that is one of the reason. And here whatever the horn portion is there, generally you are naming it as the beak and horn to make some round shapes. When you are strike over that, placing the workpiece at the edge of the horn, when you strike over that at the back of that particular workpiece, so it can make, we can make some round shapes over that. Okay. Or by placing over the horn, if you strike over the workpiece, so generally it will form like a round shapes can be formed by applying hammering on the workpiece. Okay, right. So you see there is a holes already we have discussed. What is the purpose of the Pritchell hole and hard eye hole? So ends of the anvils already discussed, where whatever the steps are there is used for bending the workpieces at right angles. If you bend to right angles by using support of the edges, we can bend them to right angles also. Why? Because metal is already, workpiece is already very red hot condition. By applying the compressive force with the help of hammer, so it can be the bend, easily bend. So edges mostly for right angle purposes. Okay. See, this is exactly how the anvil will look like. This is the diagram you can see here. It's a very older one. You see the holes which is present on the face. Face is very soft in nature, you can see here. When one is a square and one is a round hole, so you see there is a step, and continuation of the step you can see at the one end there is a horn or beak. Okay, right. So already I discussed regarding the Pritchell hole. And so this Pritchell hole is also used for holding the round shanks. That body part which is there, the body part can be inserted into that round hole to holding purpose, for holding purpose. Or the workpieces can be inserted into that round hole. If the size is sufficient, then you can put into that hole and we can bend that rod also. So we can use for number of purposes. And whereas the square or hard eye hole, as we are discussed, for holding the square or what are the square shanks are there, so it can be hold like tools, what we are told, that like swagers, fullers, we will discuss those things. Coming to the specification point, so anvil is specified by its weight. Generally we can specify them how, means depending on that weight. Generally they are available from some 100 kgs to 150 kgs, like that. And if you see uh, from, generally it will be placed on the floor to a height of about from the floor if you measure up to a height of some 0.75 meters. So it is placed because while doing the particular operations, that it has to come to our handy. It means we can use them with very minimum efforts, right? So if it is at very lower height, so we cannot perform the operations correctly. So it should be provided up to a height of some 0.75 meters. The base will be provided, and above that the anvil can be placed, right? So that is regarding the specification in terms of the weight available from 100 kgs to 150 kgs, right? Next, this is a swage block. So just look at the diagram of the swage block, how it will be look like. It is also very hard, high carbon metal part. You observe how what are the, so on the face you see different hole sized different holes are there which is having different diameters. Similarly, different squared holes having different sized sizes are there, and you see at the different edges they are made with some grooves, some round grooves are there, or some rectangular or trapezoidal grooves are there. You see here some rectangular groove or trapezoidal groove or some round sides. So at the edges you see this. It is also a very heavier block, so it is placed in one of the base, which is provided it separately. You will see that, and this is a generally we are considering it as one of the rectangular block made with some forged steel or cast steel. Why? Because by we are utilizing these different forms which are having rectangular, trapezoidal, square, or these different diameter holes. The red hot metal parts or the workpieces, or it can be shaped according to these diameters, or it can be used for holding the workpieces. The red hot workpieces can be used. Different shapes can be you can see on the face of that particular swage block, right? So this is regarding the swage block. And purpose means as where you can see it's used for the bending process and is used for finishing works, like the round holes which is there, round bars can be placed. If you are applying the striking on that, according to that shape what they are made, according to that shape the metal part will be formed according to that shape. You can also bend by placing over in these square holes or round bars. It can place and it can be bent according to our requirement. Okay, so this is what the purpose of the swage block. And it can also be used for finishing round, square, and hexagonal forms also, right? Okay, next we move on to the hammers. So these components are already we are already discussed. Just again we go through that the hammers, the types of hammers, and different hammers what they are used in this Smith operation, where the requirement of these hammers is giving the compressive force. These are the striking tools, right? By applying some compressive forces, so we can get the required shape of that whatever the heated metal is there, we can get the required shape by applying the compressive force. And the types of hammers as we discussed earlier, that is ball peen hammer, cross peen hammer, and straight peen hammer. So this is regarding the hammers, the types of hammers, ball peen, straight peen, and cross peen hammers. Along with that, actually these are the some of the hand hammers which are generally used by the smith itself. The person who is there, smith, is named like we call them as like a smithy person. And other hammer is there like sledgehammer, so which is used by the other helper of smithy. A smithy helper is also there. He uses that the sledgehammer. we will see the purpose of that. Just we go through the hammers the one by one, like so this you see already we seen that visibly in the previous classes regarding how the ball peen hammer will look like and how they are specified, so based on their weight. So we see that, and these ball peen hammers are mostly used for the striking uh, tool, as I have to apply some compressive force on the workpiece, whichever it is a hot metal, to give the blows over that. Generally we are preferring these hand hammers like ball pin, cross pin, or straight pin hammers, so depending on the applicability, so what type of operation, the shape is required, the type of the hammer can be chosen over there. So this is best suitable for hand forging operation, the ball pin hammer, and where it is generally made with the cast steel or uh, some tough cast steel. And you observe the weight generally having about 0.9 kgs in weight, which is fixed to the wooden handle to hold with your hands. And you observe the ball pin hammer, the one end of it is made with the flat end, which is used for general purpose of striking on the workpiece, and other end if you observe it is a ball shaped. So that ball shape is used for particular purpose when we are going for like some riveting operations or some burring works. Generally we are preferring these ball pin hammers. And coming to the cross pin hammers, so it may look like this, very similar to ball pin hammer, but one end of the end is not just like circular form, you see, not like a ball form or like that. It is a like a straight, just inclined or sharpened edge is there, but it is slightly bent here. Generally we are naming it as a cross pin hammer. And so coming to the part, this it will be very similar in the ball, this ball pin hammer. Just the change in it is whatever the, other than the flat end, if you observe the last other end, it will be uh, it will right angle to the some axis of the handle. You can see, so exactly it may be for like some 90 degrees like that. Coming to the weight part, it will be taken somewhat less than that ball pin hammer, in between the weight of 0.21 k or 0.22 kg to 0.91 kgs. So mostly used for the purpose of for bending the work material or for stretching the parts while giving the blows over that, and also for hammering purpose, the flat face of that particular the cross pin hammer can be used. And this is a straight pin hammer, so which it exactly follows the straight parallel to the axis of the handle. It will be parallel to the axis of the handle. And you see, it means whatever the pin you're looking, so it exactly it make a parallel, right. And here the weight of the hammer is about 0.11 kg to 0.91 kg, and used for stretching the material just by giving the blows, the same purpose as a cross pin hammer. The next whoever the smithy helper is there, he uses in addition with other smith who is using those hammers. Additionally, the smith helper will use this sledgehammer. It just it look like in a similar shape like a uh, just like the ball pin hammer, but it doesn't at both the sides it has the flat ends. Instead of that ball pin at one end, it consists of like flat ends, or in some cases they may take like a straight pin hammers also, just used for supporting purpose generally. It is also made with the handle of wooden. And whereas you see the specification regarding the weight of that, generally these weights are very heavier, ranging from 3 to 10 kgs. And for giving very heavier blows, these type of sledgehammers are mostly used in these smith by the smiths, or in these forging operations. So this is regarding the sledgehammers. generally you can observe the blows are given with very heavier hammers. Those are namely we are calling it as the sledgehammers. Okay, and this is how we specify based on their weight, 3 kgs to 10 kgs. And uh, right, so this is regarding, and length of the handle is also mentioned about 0.75 meters. It's somewhat very length compared with the other hammers. So this is regarding the hammer parts. And what we have discussed, like the important hand forging tools like anvil and the block what we have seen for holding all the work pieces, and that is a spage block. And next we are seeing the what are the striking tools are there, importance of the hammers, what are the types of hammers. Next again moving into the next topics. Next we are going to deal about the tongs. What are the use, what is the purpose of the tongs and types of the tongs and how do they specify. So we will see these things. And so this generally, the tongs are used for holding. Mostly it is used for the supporting the workpiece or for holding the workpiece, uh, whichever it is, maybe hard, the hot metal or hot workpiece or a cold workpiece. Generally these tongs are used for this particular holding purpose, or during whenever we are operating on the anvil, whenever you are placing on the anvil, it needs some supporting tools. So these tongs will take the responsibility of that. It is used for holding and gripping purpose. Firmly it will hold the workpieces which are red hot condition. And it can also be that hot metal can be turned, so depending on the striking operation by the hammers. So you can rotate that by holding with the tong, you can rotate that, and hammering can be done by the helper. So, and these tongs generally made with the mild steel materials. You see there will be two jaws. Why? Because tongs, it consists of to hold or to grip the workpiece, hot workpieces or some cold workpiece. Jaws are designed here, used for grasping the parts, which has to be hammered by, because you have to give some compressive force on the workpiece. So uh, the jaws are designed to hold the parts, uh, and that it can be placed over the anvil. So by applying the compressive force with the help of these hammers, so we can get the desired shape. So this is purpose of the tongs. And in some cases they will use to avoid like whatever the pressures developed when you are holding the workpiece. Whenever you are striking with the hammers, you can see some pressures or some vibrations can be developed. uh, why? Because you are holding those workpiece. So that pressures will be received by the person or the smith who is holding that workpiece. So to avoid that, some clamping screws are provided there, where the holding of the workpiece will be made more easier. Instead of applying more the pressure with your hand, clamping screws will be there. Then it can be locked or hold with the help of the clamping screw. The workpiece can be held very tightly. Coming to the specifications, generally they are specified by the lengths. The tong length may be around 475 to 650 mm, and the bit length which is there, so it should be whatever the portion, the first starting portion of that, it around ranges between 75 to 140 mm. Material, as we seen that generally made with some mild steel, where it consists of the carbon content in that around 0.3 to 0.4%. Generally it considered for medium carbon steels. And the tip is hardened. Why? Because you see, it should be hardened. Some cases uh, it is making direct contact with the what are the hot work pieces are there, it has to be hold together. So it must and should withstand to that temperature, as well as whatever the striking or compressive forces are applied with the hammer, is receiving by the tongs. So must and should be very hardened and tempered to hold them very firmly. So that's the reason. And coming to the types of tongs, there will be few tongs will be there. So depending on the shape of workpiece which you are holding, right? So depending on that, there will be the tongs available. According to that, we can hold them very firmly. There is a round bars, or if there may be some like a rectangular bars or some square bars, like that. So depending on that, we can choose the types of tongs also. Or whenever if you want to hold the hot workpieces, tong used for that is a different case. So like that, we'll see these open mouth tong, closed mouth tong, hollow bit, v mouth, and square mouth, and pickup tong. So you are getting some idea, I think. A hollow bit in the sense which is having some hollow section. We will see the diagram, then you get more understand. And pickup tongs will be there, like whenever if you want to remove the that red hot work pieces from that furnace, just we can use these pickup tongs. We can remove with the help of the tongs, and it can be hold, right, with the help of these tongs. And some ring tongs will be there. So these are the types of tongs: open, close, hollow, v mouth, square mouth, and pickup tongs, and ring tongs. So this is how you can see the observance in this picture. The smith is you see here, the smith is operating on the anvil. The hammer is held by the smith, and he is operating on the anvil. So this is a some furnace which is used for heating the work pieces for up to red hot condition, or below the the melting point, above the recrystallization temperature. So these are the tongs which are holded on the place. So different tongs you can observe here. So generally we see the different types. So you see, so right, this is regarding that the types of tongs is some open mouth, and this is the diagram regarding the closed mouth. We will see the purpose of them, each and every one. Look at the diagrams of them, how they are called open mouth and closed mouth tongs. So this is a handle portion, whichever the long ends is there, that is the handle portion, and the small end which is there, that is the holding length. This is a V mouth. You observe how the shape it will be. So observe it clearly. For holding some of the different shapes, like some triangular objects or whatever, the sharp edged projections are there. So it can be held with the help of this V mouth. You observe the hollow bit. Completely it is in a circular form. Round bars can be held with the help of this hollow bit, right? So depending on different applications, this is also, you see the purpose. The square mouth, you observe the front face of the tong. So like that, whenever some square shaped bars are there, hot bars or some whatever, it might be normal cold bars, so that it can be held with the help of these type of square mouth tongs. And this is the pickup tong what we have discussed. Generally most purpose we are using to to take the workpiece directly from the furnace. So these pickup tongs are generally used to hold the red hot tools. And this is regarding each and every tong usage. Open mouth is a normal usage we are using, so used for holding the flat jobs along its length. And hollow bits generally used for the round bars. And V and square mouth, the name itself, it gives what is the purpose, used to grip the square bars or some other, the V type of projected bars, or some triangular objects which are there to hold them. Generally they are preferring. And pickup tongs are used for picking up the hot work pieces, as what we have seen. There is a ring tongs, generally used for smaller circular work. So what are the work pieces which are very smaller one, so generally we are preferring these ring tongs to, for example, for holding like rivets, small rivets, for making of the rivets, like that. or of bolts for holding the bolts like that. Generally, we are preferring these ring tongs. This is regarding the tongs. What we have seen mostly concentrated on the what is the purpose of the tong and the types of the tongs. We have seen some diagrammatic part of the tongs, and also we have seen each and every purpose. So depending on the shape of the work object which is there to hold them, the type of tongs which are utilized there, and how the pressure applied by the smith can be reduced by just like by applying by placing some clamping screw over that, that it can hold the workpiece. So no need to apply more the pressure with the help of uh, this smith. So this is the points what you have observed in the regarding the tongs part. And next we see the next part we are going into discuss, that is a chisels part. uh, the types of forging chisels. It means to make some of the shape over that, we are using these chisels or used for cutting the steels. Generally we are preferring these chisels, maybe carried in both the conditions, like not only for hot work pieces. Generally we can go for the cold work pieces. Not, it means at normal room temperature, these type of chisels can be used for generally for the cutting the steels. And like you can also provide some a necking operation. Just it means reducing that cross section of that object, um, for to generally if you want to break at that point, you can go we can use these type of chisels. Okay, so we'll see the purpose of them. Basically two types out there, that is a hot chisel, cold chisel. We will see that how the it will look like. As what we have explained, the chisels are used for cutting and necking of the material prior to breaking. So which part has to be break at that point? Generally we are choosing the chisel, placing the chisel at that point, and striking with that hammer, the maybe sledgehammer or whatever the hammer. Generally we have preferred that going for cutting at that part, applying some compressive force with the help of the hammer. Or we can go for the necking operation also, reducing the cross section at that particular part. Generally we can prefer these chisels. Okay, and in this two chisels what we have discussed, that is hot and cold chisels. To identify that, generally the hot chisel, uh, the edge of that, if you take, generally we are preferring for 30 degrees. That means the angle of cutting. See, this is the diagram of the chisel. One end is sharply edged. It means provided with an angle of about 30 degrees, the sharp edge. And you see at the top side, there is a striking portion at the top. So on the top face, we are getting strike with the help of the hammer. Compressive forces are applied that this bottom portion is placed on the hot workpiece. And in this, the thing is, there is no need to make this hot chisel end like hardened or tempered. No need of these no need of requirement of those metals, hardened or tempered uh, these chisel materials. It does not require for these hot forging operation. Why? Because already the workpiece is heated to some plastic stage. So applying a little amount of compressive force, that it can be done its operation, like cutting that part or necking operation can be done. It means reducing the cross section by applying little amount of compressive force only. So no need to make this edge of that hot chisel at the bottom hardened and tempered. No need of doing this thing, whereas it is required for the cold chisel. So these are the few of the silent points. And generally used hot chisel in the sense, we can specify them with the help of these whenever the cutting edge is about 30 degrees, we have to choose the hot chisel like that. And used for cutting the metal when hot, the workpiece is hot. And when like a hot metal may be cut at a plastic state, so by applying the uh, chisel over that. So you can see this is the anvil part where he is using that uh, doing some operation on the chisel, the help of the chisel. And coming to the cold chisel, it's also similarly look like the hot chisel, but the specification how they are chosen here, edge of the chisel, if you observe, it has chosen to about 60 degrees. 60 degrees, it's more than the hot chisel. So it's also the same purpose, but the workpiece what you are taken, or at what temperature it is operated, that is at room temperature. Generally we are preferring these cold chisels. And obviously we are operating at normal temperatures, so more amount of compressive force has to be uh, applied over this cold chisel. On the top of the cold chisel, we have to strike over that. So at the bottom you see the edge has to be made stronger, that is the metal has to be hardened and tempered, because uh, it should observe whatever the striking forces are developed on the top surface of the cold chisel. It should not be deformed, it should be very harder, and it should be tempered. So that is the reason why it is made hardened and tempered material, to cut the cold metals without doing any fracture, right? And how to specify means the angle of the cutting edge of this cold chisel is 60 degrees. So these are the cold chisels. You can see how we are specifying, measuring the angle at the edge of that angle. Generally we are preferring for 60 degrees. So depending on the thickness of the workpiece, generally we are preferring the cold chisels, which cold chisel has to be chosen. Next, this is regarding the chisel. Next we're going to discuss a few more topics like swages, hard eye tools, and a few more are there. Just we go through the swages. Just like a swage block, instead of the block it consisting of number of holes or number of the circular sections or V shapes or some square shaped holes, so like that. So there will be a permanent shaped swages will be there, which is used for single purpose. You observe the swages, generally they are available in pair, where you see the top part and bottom part are separated. So these two separate parts, top and bottom parts, are connected with the help of some steel handle is there, a stripped steel handle, which we can close together by applying a little pressure. It can make contact with the workpiece. So workpiece will be hold in this the recess which is provided in between these two parts. You see the bottom part of that swage in the first diagram or second diagram. You observe here, it consists of some, you see the cross section of that, it may be semicircular form. And this at the bottom you see there is a swage, sorry, the, you can see it's, we will see that what is that. And shank portion is there, right? In the bottom there is a shank. So this shank can be used, generally you observe this shape at the bottom. This is the bottom portion. Generally we are naming it as a body or the shank. The shank can be inserted into the hard eye hole, where it will be there. Hard eye hole is present in the anvil, right? Or you can use the swage blocks also. There will be a number of square holes or like that, it will be there. So this, it can be fitted on the anvil. Now generally what we can use with the help of these swages, after fixing this the shank portion in the hard eye hole, when just we try to press this steel handle, this stripped steel handle, where you are placing the workpiece in between them, and you are pressing this steel handle over that. On the top of the face we are striking with the help of the hammer. Then we can provide the required shape. Whatever the hole it is present, the same hole diameter it can be shaped. It may be round shape, or it may be square shape, or in some other shapes it may also be. The swages can be available in different shapes, round, square or hexagonal shapes. You see at the in between shape between the two parts, top part and bottom part. This is the regarding the first diagram. You see the second diagram also, the purpose is same, but you see the available thing. One at one side it's provided with the handle, a single handle. Instead of this strip steel handle, both are separately made. The top part is separated and bottom part is separated. Bottom part, you see the shank portion is there. Here, this is the shank, so which is inserted into the hard die hole, nothing but the square shaped hole in the anvil. Then it can be held in the anvil tightly. Now you placing the workpiece in between them. Then you placing this top part with the help of the handle, which is placed over the workpiece. Then you can give the striking or compressive forces above this swage. Now you can get the required shape. Either it may be round or a square or a hexagonal shapes. So these are the two availabilities regarding the swages. Next one is the hard die tool. So generally this is used for a cutting tool. It is a cutting tool for whatever the work pieces are there. See the arrangement, how it is used for this purpose. And how it is holded, you see. So this is a tool, hard die tool, and you see at the bottom of that, this is the shank portion. So this shank is inserted into the anvil. You see the anvil here. Here this is anvil, and in this anvil, whatever the hard die hole is there, in the hard die hole, the square shank is inserted into that. So this is the hard die tool. The name itself it is giving, right? Because it is inserting into the hard die hole, and this hard die tool is provided with just like a chisel shaped will be there, and over that we are placing the workpiece. Workpiece is held with the help of the tongs. Now on that we are we are placing the chisel. So if you give the striking operation with the help of sledgehammer on the chisel, that it will strike over the workpiece. So it will cut very rapidly by providing these arrangement with the help of the hard die tool and chisel and the sledgehammer. While striking over that, the workpiece can be cut at that particular place. So this is regarding the hard die tool, which is having just like chisel shaped, and at the one side and at the bottom side is a square shank used for holding in the anvil piece. Okay, and may be used for both the cases. Sometime like just like chisels what you have seen for a hot and cold. For both the cases, so these hard die hole is helpful for getting the cutting operation, right? Next we move on to the topics of the last and final one, that is the fullers, flatters, and some punches, drifts, set hammers, and their uses. So I'll skip on that, and you can get understood what is the purpose of them. So these are the fullers. Instead of using the chisel directly, right? Chisel, whenever some long work pieces are there, according to the shape and sizes, so these instead of the chisels we can choose these type of fullers. So you observe the first diagram over here, and this is the fuller. The bottom edge, whatever the it is provided with some the handle, and you see the bottom portion of the top section, just like a chisel part it will be there, but depending on the workpiece different shapes can be chosen, different fullers will be there. You see the bottom portion also, it is made in a pairs, same as the bottom, the top, the bottom fuller will also be there. This bottom fuller, you see at the bottom side there will be some shank, so this it should be fixed into the hard die hole. Okay, fixed into the hard die hole. It will be fixed at some other point, it will be inserted into the hard die hole. Now you see the workpiece is placed in between them, and what happens if you strike with the sledgehammer, so then some striking forces will be obtained by that fuller, and what we can perform with this furring operation. So necking can be done, reducing the cross section of that, right? And grooving, or to provide some groove or some keyway over that, generally we can use these type of tools, the fuller tool, for necking or grooving operations. Okay, next one is the flatter. You see the purpose already. It's very similar, just what we have seen in the previous case, but you see at the bottom portion it is made completely flat, and again the same, the handle is provided here to hold that, and to give the flat face over the workpieces. Generally we are preferring this, placing on the workpiece, striking with the help of the hammer, sledgehammer, like that. So it will provide the flat face over the workpiece, whichever it is hotter, that it can be the face can be it can be reduced, and flat faces can be obtained with the help of the flatters. Just by looking at the diagram you will get some understood. And the surfaces obtained are very smooth. It will depends on the skill of the person. Generally they are also available in mostly these flatters are used for some long what are the big sized workpieces are there. So about some 75 square or some round, what are the flat faces are there. Generally we are preferring these flatters to make the flat faces over the workpieces, or from some flat spaces. Set hammers is very similar to the flatter, but as what I have told that for bigger shaped some workpieces, generally we are preferring them flatters. If you want to use for special purpose like this, you see uh, like a within a space, smaller space, if you want to provide the flat surface, generally we are preferring these set hammers. The set hammer, which is you see some of the shape provided at the bottom, very similar to flatter, but for confined space, for smaller spaces like that, or for finishing the corners, edges, whatever is there, to finish them, generally we are preferring the set hammers. Next one is the punches. These punches are generally the normal purpose for providing the holes whenever you are taking the hot workpiece. These may be also available in different shapes, like round, may be available in square forms, or it may be available in the oval forms also. These, it can be placed over the hot workpiece, and above these punches, if you strike over with the help of the workpieces, that it will be inserted, or it will be went into the hot workpiece by applying the set of some uh, the compressive forces repeatedly, and we can make the holes into the hot metal. Okay, this is the purpose of the punches. Whereas the drifts, so already made holes which is there, with the help of the punches we can enlarge them. So for enlarging the holes, we can use these drifts. You see the diagram here, there is a workpiece, and some the workpiece is placed over that part, or some anvil, and now you can see the drift is placed over the workpiece, and you can enlarge the whatever the already made work the hole with the help of the punch by striking over the drift. Then the blows will be obtained on the top surface of the drift, that it will be enter into the workpiece. So further what happens, the hole can be enlarged with the help of you will get finish also, complete finish with the help of this drift by enlarging the holes. These drifts are generally used. Okay, and so this is regarding the normal the forging, hand forging tools. Generally we will see in the forging shops. These all the tools are very important in the case, and we have seen the importance of each and every tool what we have seen. And in next classes we will see some forging operations which can be performed with the help of these tools. It's very easier, you know, the what are the tools already we have learned in this session. So thank you, and we will meet in the next session with the next upcoming topics. So thank you.